Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chit Bash, where we kitbash some minis, have a chit chat and eat a Kit Kat.
Yeah, we're not gonna do any AI sloppy in this. Starting with the Legion Tartarus Terminator's kit, we're gonna take everything except for the shoulder pads on it. Those are gonna come from the Saturnine Terminator's kit. I personally don't recommend this kit bash for anybody. It's just a waste of a good model and a good set of shoulder pads. Also, if you're gonna do this in the legal GW plastic, it's gonna cost you a fuck ton. This part actually came out quite nice, the bolter with the double magazine on it. I'm using a Chaos Terminator's bolter to get the upper part, and I used some plastic cement to melt the joints down to get a seamless fit up on the bolter. Then I just added some super glue to fit it all up. I clean up all the studs of the armor and smooth it down with a knife and a sanding stick. I specifically chose not to use the armor with the trim on it because none of them fit with the look that I was going for. I glue on the arms to the Mini, trying to get as close as I can to the pose of the vintage model. Because of the bulk of the shoulder pads, I had to trim them down even more to get a good fit up. I think if the shoulder pads were 20% smaller, they would have been just perfect. Using our pet rock, we are basing all the metallic parts with a dry brush of lead belcher. Because of how this model is assembled, I paint the head separately and all the way finished before putting it inside of the armor. Using contour blue and Calgar blue, I go through all of the shadows, midtones and the highlights for the armor. For the eye lenses, I use some white scar and glaze them with some Evil Sun Scarlet. And of course we do the golden metallic trim onto the eyebrows. Since this is going to be an ultramarine, I base coat the armor with contour blue and repeat the same steps as with the head. Use some basic layering. I'm painting all of the details and the highlights to the armor. Again, this is just a very sloppy Ultramarines paint job. I still do wanna give it a bit of effort onto the parts that are actually gonna be left visible, and just using the contour blue and the Colgar blue, I'm blending those together to get all of the shadows, midtones and highlights. Also for the extreme highlights, I'm just using Colgar blue with a bit of white scar mixed in. I'm basing all of the trim on the shoulder pads with Retributor armor. Not gonna do anything more fancy than that with it. I'm also basing all of the shells and the casings on the bolter with the same Retributor armor. All the details and highlights honestly takes the longest with these models, even though most get hidden by the shoulder pads in this one. Here I'm coating the shoulder pads with contrast medium and then using Colgar blue to make a glow effect onto the power nodules that are sitting on the shoulder pads. In the end, the Legion Tartarus Terminator came out looking actually pretty neat. Would have been a cool model all on its own, but because I've had this idea in my head, I had to put in the Saturnine shoulder pads. Using stippling and wet blending, I get the glow effect and the contrast on it. Here's what the shoulder pads look like before I decide to ruin them by adding a glow effect onto the recess with an ink wash and then a glaze of Colgar blue. Using a pin wash to get all of the recess inked in. And here I'm using a glaze to get that faint glow effect into the power generator. there we go. A vintage kitbash Saturnine armor. I really do not recommend anyone to do this build. It's just a straight up waste of a good parts and a model. Remember to leave a dislike, report the channel, and leave a hate comment down below. Thanks.